All right, put on your seatbelt, because not only are we going to get an absolutely riveting goal that may be the best goal you've ever seen, we're also going to get fun geography facts. And that's the true essence of this channel. The fact that you can get both a weird geography education, stare at the greatest forehead on planet Earth, and watch an awesome goal while receiving the context behind it in probably 15 to 20 minutes of dumb takes about how this sort of goal is possible. Now, it also is very pertinent to me. Right? Because I have a friend named Zealand who's obviously an entirely separate person who streams on Twitch, right? And he's currently playing a save in a game called Football Manager in Brazil, which that first time, he's told me anyways, first time he's ever doing that. Don't know if I buy it. I mean, the guy's got like 12,000 hours in the game, so I'm pretty sure that he's played there before, but whatever. It sounds like bullshit. Anyways, he's playing there, and so he's been telling me about how the league works. We're at the Brazilian league, and I'm going to be honest, having that knowledge really came in handy with this video, because the Brazilian league system, it goes basically all year round. Now, granted, a lot of league systems go basically all year round, but there's also two different leagues in Brazil. And the opening league just kicked off. And if you're wondering what I mean by two different leagues, there's a thing called the State League in Brazil. Now, if we zoom in on this lovely map that I've got here, there are a bunch of different states. The state of Sao Paulo, the state of Paraná, the state of Rio Grande do Sul. My personal favorite, the state of Amazonas, obviously. If you're wondering what I'm looking for the state that this match actually happened in. It's the Rio de Janeiro State Championship. Okay, so this state right here. There's also the state of Rio de Janeiro, which that state championship for some reason is called the Carioca State Championship. Now, each of the states in Brazil has its own league system. Straight up, totally unrelated to the National League system. The best one is probably the Sao Paulo State League. There's probably going to be somebody that disagrees with me on that, but Sao Paulo State League has like Corinthians, Palmeiras, Sao Paulo, obviously. And that's the state league that Zealand is managing on his particular Twitch stream. But this match was the opening match of the Rio de Janeiro State League. It's a state league system. They play from January to March every year, and then the National Leagues start and play to like the end of November. And so that's how it ends up going all year round. The state league for big teams, it's kind of like a preseason. You get a nice tune-up, and in some of these states, there might not even be one top flight team. But you can imagine in a few states, it's kind of a blowout, right? There's one or two good teams. And if you look at the state league that Fluminense is in, there's also Flamengo and Botafogo. So this is one of the better state leagues that you can run into. Vasco da Gama is a top flight team. But the weird thing about the state leagues is you also end up with teams that are obviously not in the first division. Each state league runs a little differently. It looks like the state league in Rio de Janeiro, they have 12 teams in the top flight, right? Some do playoffs, some do this, some do that. Like Sao Paulo, if you finish in the top 8, then you go to a playoff, and there's this weird group system, and there's more teams in the league. It's fascinating, super cool. And if you're wondering why they need a state league, and I realize this is a video about an amazing goal, and I promise I'm going to show it to you, but we got to get the geography facts first. This is why Brazil needs state leagues. They had state leagues well before they had a national league, because Brazil is, in fact, massive. That is Brazil, using the True Size of website here, superimposed over Europe. It goes from, an hour off the coast of France to the west and past Ireland and well north of Scotland to east of Ukraine and Belarus and like halfway up Sweden and Norway and all of that. And then, like down into Libya. And if you're wondering if that's the United States, India, and China all superimposed over the African continent, it is. This website's incredibly cool, but Brazil is massive. Really, really interesting thing here. The top part of Brazil is closer to Canada on a map. Like actual distance. The top part of Brazil is closer to Canada than the bottom part of Brazil. It is literally closer to Canada than the bottom part of Brazil. There's your fun geography fact. The team involved in this magic goal is a team called Volta Redonda Futebol Clube. They are in the second division, the national second division, but they are in the top flight of the Carioca Championship. You can see how this gets a little weird. So they're in the national second division, but they play in the top flight of the Rio State League. And so they get matched up against Fluminense. And if you're looking at this, you're thinking, well, it's just 1-0 to Volta Redonda. Red card in the 62nd minute for Fluminense. It's the second match that these two teams are playing in the entire competitive season. In January, which in Brazil is in the middle of the summer. So it looks a little hot. It looks a little unpleasant. But it's the 87th minute, close to the end of the game, that Volta Redonda, a team in the second division of Brazil playing against one of the giant clubs, Fluminense, pulls this out. We're just gonna throw this in its entirety because it involves my pet peeve, some bad goalkeeping to start. There's a completely scuffed save that's spilled. There's a bit better of a save as he lunges forward. Defender tries to clear it. Offensive guy throws his foot in the way. That very easily could have deflected in the back of the net, but now it's going to the side, up in the air. And you're about to see something utterly mind-blowing. Honestly, the sentence kind of sounds even cooler than maybe the goal itself. Bike to a bike. 1, 2. Only in Brazil. It requires a serious amount of audacity to go bike to bike here. Now, the first bike is more of an overhead flick. It is not a Cristiano Ronaldo 10 feet in the air bicycle kick, and neither is the goal. And I tend to side sometimes with Michael Wilbon, who's a guy who's a talking head, doesn't really understand soccer, but he's always said he's not that impressed by bicycle kicks because every high school player can do them, right? And the bicycle kicks that they do can end up looking a lot more like this than the Cristiano Ronaldo bicycle kicks. That being said, I expect this goal to at least make its way towards a potential Puskás award because it is so rare to end up with a bicycle kick to a bicycle kick. Okay, and the second one is a solid rendition of a bicycle kick. But the real optimism here, the real optimism in this play is the bicycle kick that ends up being a cross. Because you have to, even if it's just a flick overhead, there are so many other options. Bring the ball down, try and beat your man. But the real creativity, the real genius behind this goal is the guy that thinks to pop it back over his head. If we watch this play again, just, out of pure interest of getting in the weeds, nobody's ready for this. The defense is not prepared at all. Nobody's moving. Nobody thinks that's coming. And that's what allows this guy to create some space from two Fluminense defenders that just really aren't ready to compete for that ball. They're not braced. They don't have their feet underneath them. And this guy's just able to react first. And he's got to be bold with this too, because somebody is trying to head it away. Granted, it's a pretty half-assed effort to try and head the ball away. After the ball goes in, the goalkeeper's trying to protest something. I think he's protesting the high boot here. But if you go in half-assed, then some guy whips out a bicycle kick into the bottom corner, you're never going to get the benefit of the call. The only way you're going to be able to get that call is if you throw your forehead in the direct line of that boot. And this guy, granted, it's the second match of the state league, just wasn't willing to do it. And all of a sudden, Fluminense is in a bit of a pickle. Them and Flamengo have not won either of their first two state league matches. Volta Redonda is now ahead of Fluminense and Flamengo in the state league. The reigning South American champions lost one of their first two matches in the state league as well. The state leagues are chaos. They have tribal passion behind them. I'm sure this meant a ton to those people from the area of Rio and where Volta Redonda plays. You can hear the noise from the crowd after the ball goes in. And it's a pretty darn good call by the announcer as well. Just wanted to give him a shout out. Hell of a goal in Brazil. The state leagues are underway, so I expect a cavalcade of nonsense.